going on, Jeromes? It's a beautiful Tuesday, and the Twins are going to win this afternoon, actually. I made a mistake. I thought that I had bought tickets for Tuesday's game. Turns out I bought tickets for Wednesday's game, but that could actually work out better since it could be a clinching game for the ALCS. No big deal. But a bunch of random Vikings things to talk about, so let's go. So the whole thing about the Chiefs game, where it does seem like the officiating seems to shade towards the Kansas City Chiefs because Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches of all time. You do have Patrick Mahomes, face of the league, Travis Kelce, the marketing face of the league right now, and of course they want to keep the Chiefs' boat afloat. All that stuff. Where it was really tough. Several major calls and also some non-calls going against the Vikings, always going in the Chiefs' direction, right? So, of course, there was going to be inevitable pushback, right? So, Brett Coleman, who's fantastic breaking down film, respect his work, so he tweeted this out. So, let me get this straight. Calling the Chiefs on 10 penalties for nearly 100 yards, more than double the Vikings' penalties overall, is what rigging the game for them looks like. Now, two things can be true at once. The Chiefs were penalized, especially in the first half, for infractions of the rules. That's the way it should go. And then late in the game, when there are high leverage spots, well, even before halftime, Watson did not get 2 feet down. I will go to the grave saying that. And the whole Harrison Smith, DPI, was he grabbed by MVS? Certainly looked like it. As well as, maybe L'Jarius Sneed, it wasn't defensive pass interference. At minimum, it was defensive holding. And for sure, it should have been 15 yards of field position. No, it does not change possession, but that's beside the point. When Sneed took off his helmet. So it's one thing if, a bunch of calls go against the Chiefs in accurate form early in the game. But how do you just magically get all these calls go your way in big-time spots and fourth down in the fourth quarter? Kind of raise a couple eyebrows. And then Jeff Schwartz, who's very, very long on opinions, former offensive lineman, played for the Vikings for a year and also played for the Chiefs. He tweeted this out. The reason the Chiefs have the most wins, conference championship game appearances, and Super Bowl wins since 2018 is the rigging of games for them. Pretty clear to see, guys. So obviously sarcasm there. Now, this is what's so stupid. And so whenever there's a debate like this, people just always say it's completely reductive. Oh, it must be that all the time. Blah, 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 blah. Now, again, multiple things can be true at once. The Chiefs have had success because Andy Reid is the greatest coach of all time, or one of the greatest coaches. Patrick Mahomes on his way to being the GOAT quarterback, as well as Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends in history. Chris Jones is going to be a future Hall of Famer as well. And, yeah, that's the reason why the Chiefs have had all this success. And pointing out that the Chiefs got several calls, coin toss, subjective calls. Well, the helmet wasn't subjective. You literally had the ref saying, put your helmet on, otherwise I'm going to penalize you, essentially. Go the Chiefs' way. Both things can be true at once. I mean, the Chiefs are great. And also the Chiefs got every single important call go their way on Sunday in a one-score game. All right, so, but again, that's the reason why the reason why that they've been so good since 2018 is because they got a couple calls against the Vikings in Week 5 of 2023. It's very stupid, reductive logic and argument. I understand it's sarcasm, but it's like it's whatever. I'm sure that Jeff Schwartz is just mad because the Vikings cut him back in the day or let him go. And also, I mean, his brother was a stud tackle for the Chiefs for a number of years. So we know what's up. We know what's up. Whatever. So this is so weird. So last year, the Vikings, in terms of the analytics and like PFF and DVOA and all that stuff, they hated the Vikings, even though the Vikings went 13-4. And the Vikings this year, the analytics love the Vikings, but they're allegedly 1-4. So Vikings Nation put this together. Vikings PFF rankings through 5 games. Team 7th. Offense 5th. Pass blocking 2nd, by the way, which that's a whole nother video. First in run blocking, by the way. Defense 15th. So middle of the pack. It's whatever there. And special teams 12th. So you have a top 5 offense, a top half of the league defense, and top 12 special teams, and you're 1-4. My Dios mío. So rough, man. So rough. Also rough. So Lamar Jackson in the Ravens' 17-10 loss on Sunday against the Steelers, he had seven drops by his receivers. And Kirk Cousins also had 7, but PFF only counted 6 because they only dinged Hockenson for 2 drops when he clearly had 3. And I actually do think that part of it is if they would have given the Vikings 7 drops, they would have had to talk about it in the same vein as Lamar Jackson, where, I mean, social media is just falling all over themselves trying to have Lamar Jackson's back, and rightfully so. I love me some Lamar Jackson, and yeah, I mean, his receivers hanging on to the ball, kind of rough, man. But, I mean, all of the narratives like, oh, Lamar Jackson needs help from those around him applied to Kirk Cousins, but since the media hates Kirk Cousins and also half the fan base doesn't have the time of day for him, it's always his fault. It's always his fault. See, it wasn't the 7 drops that Cousins' receivers had. Oh, he's throwing the ball too hard. All that stuff. Yeah, when his receivers get 2 mitts on the football, no big deal. Or Alexander Madison dropping what would have been the game-tying touchdown. See, it's Kirk Cousins' fault that he didn't get the Hail Mary off because the offensive line didn't block on that last play. No big deal. All right, I'm not saying it's never not Kirk's fault, but the default Kirk's fault, I don't know, man. I don't know. So when the Vikings brought aboard defense coordinator Brian Flores, you love the aggressive approach. I think he's done some good things with the defense. I think that the defense is still a bit of a work in progress, but it seemed like Flores is going to be the bad cop to Kevin O'Connell's Ted Lasso good cop, right? And the whole thing about what's been rough about the Vikings is they seem really undisciplined and a bit aloof in tight spots, in game situations, and that's a direct reflection upon head coach Kevin O'Connell. Like, it is the coaching staff's job to get players prepared for situations and scenarios, and it doesn't seem like it. But again, I'm not saying that adofo-mensah and Kevin O'Connell are on the hot seat after 2 years, especially after winning the division going 13-4 last year. That's not in the Wilfs' DNA. If the Vikings had the Browns ownership, maybe. But I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Like, if there's going to be a change, you have a head coach on staff, a guy who's had success in the league, both as a head coach and D coordinator. But I guess we'll see. Whatever. Something that we'll also see is if Justin Jefferson is going to miss some significant time with that hamstring issue. Rap sheet saying that there's more tests coming for Justin Jefferson, and caution for this coming week makes sense. And Rap sheet also says that it's doubtful that JJ is going to suit up Sunday against the Bears, which is perfectly fine and understandable. Like, even if he does suit up, he would be far below 100%. And hamstring issues, they got to get near 100%. Otherwise, you run the high risk of re-injury. So I'm just hoping that things work out for JJ. And Kevin O'Connell talked about how they're going to be smart about it. And frankly, you may have to save JJ from himself, because I'm sure that he wants to be out there. And you got to wait until the time is right. Speaking of injuries, so a random one. Nick Mullins was limited last week and then was a scratch on Sunday against the Chiefs with a back issue. And Kevin Seifert, ESPN. Kevin O'Connell also said the Vikings are considering options for backup quarterback Nick Mullins, who was inactive Sunday because of back stiffness, and mentioned the possibility of a rooster move later this week. Translated, they're trying to decide whether to put him on injured reserve. So, that would free up a roster spot. Vikings only had 2 quarterbacks, no emergency third quarterback on Sunday, because emergency third quarterback has to be on the 53-man roster, can't be on the practice squad. And I would say whatever at this point. I would say roll with Jaron Hall as your QB2, because, if something happens to Kirk, alien abduction, knock on wood, hopefully that does not happen. What are you going to do? Roll Blake Bortles or some random veteran TBD? No. See what Jaron Hall's got and go from there. Hockenson. So Hockenson had a rough last 3 games, especially against the Chiefs. 3 drops, and it was just not good. Krauser pointing this out. Hockenson's career contested catch success rate coming into this year, 40 of 74, 54%. Now, that does include the back half of last season where Hockenson was dynamite and, frankly, earned him that huge contract with incentives, making him the highest paid tight end in NFL history. This year, 1 for 6, 17%. So, I don't know, like, the easy narrative is like, Hockenson got all the money and now he's fat, happy, and lazy. I'm thinking it's necessarily that, but I also do think that maybe Hockenson's in his own head a little bit. Maybe the pressure of the contract is getting to him, but he's got to step up, especially with JJ out. I think that Hockenson and Addison are going to be your 1-2 combination going forward. What should have been the Vikings combination at kicker for many years is Daniel Carlson. So, 5th-round pick back in the day out of Auburn, and he was a Viking for a hot second. And he was cut after missing 3 kicks against I think it was 3. Might have been 4 against the Packers in that Week 2 tie back in 2018. But, of course, he signed on with the Raiders, did one quick little fix, and has become a Pro Bowl All-Pro kicker. And he's really damn good, man. And his brother also plays on the Greasy Grimy Green Bay Packers, Anders Carlson, which is nearly amalgamation of my name? Close enough. First pair of brothers who are kickers to play in the same NFL game since 1987 when the Barr brothers squared off. So, hey, the Carlsons could have had 2 Carlson Bowls every single year, but Zimmer had to prove that he was tough. He was like, we're not taking this. Even though, hey, how long did you stick by Dan Bailey, bro? Doesn't matter, man. Anyways, that is it. That's actually, no. Let's focus on. There we go. That's Vikings Tuesday news dump. Go Twins. Twins win. All that stuff. Skull production value.